in
Nope.
session. No, it's not. Now it's in
Now it is.
session. The Indie Council is in session. Everyone, welcome. This is a place for the leading voices from across the industry to gather to talk news, titles, and everything indie. I'm your master of ceremonies, Jill Grote, the Indie Informer. Joining the council today, the hottest version of himself, Mike Towndrow. It's
I
a
don't
little
like that
joke.
without context.
It's a little jokey joke that
A little
yeah.
jokey joke.
I don't, that's not up yet, right? People won't have understood that joke. It's just,
It's up if you support us on patreon.com/61indie. If you join the Coupa membership and get a whole bunch of exclusive goodies like watching the wish list early and understanding Jill's jokes.
yeah, that's actually baked into the
That's
Patreon
one of the
level. It's
tiers.
like you will
Yeah.
understand Jill's jokes. Also joining us, the cure and the disease, Janet Garcia. Hello.
Yo, what is good?
I feel like Janet's voice came in really hot there. I'm excited to see how this all goes when we record.
I'm not sure if that's wait, what? What do you
Like,
mean when we
so-
record? Are we
What are you
recording now?
talking about?
Oh, yeah. So I hope everyone loves this show because Janet might be very loud, but we'll see. It's fine. We'll fix in post. We had big news today. There was a PlayStation State of Play, and we got a good number of indie stuff showed up. I was prepared for there to be very little or nothing, but we got a few cool things. A couple of things Mike shouted out over, a couple of things I was shouting to the roof for. So let's talk about it. Number one, Splitgate 2 has an open alpha coming out February 27th, just a few weeks from now. You look like you were really excited for this, Mike. Do you want to tell us about how much you love Splitgate?
Yeah, like y'all know what kind of video games I like. I like the sad boy stuff. I like the weird sicko indies. I like my grimy little freak boy joints, like mouthwashing and stuff like that. I have such a weird love for like Halo back in the day, and now in turn Splitgate. I was so into the first Splitgate. I don't know what awoke within me. I was wrecking shop. I could have went. I'm gonna call it out right now. I could have went pro if I was focused enough and I had more brain power. If you're unfamiliar with Splitgate, it is some of the former Halo folks. It's online first-person shooter that blends Hollow. It blends Halo combat with like Portal, so you could shoot a little portal and you could go through walls and jump around all over the place. It's really fun. It's really fluid. I think the first Splitgate they kind of ceased development on it just because I think they just didn't make a decent enough like roadmap for themselves, and they were like kind of getting burnt out, and things were like slowing down to a crawl. So I think they kind of cut their losses. They're like, okay, let's just pause, reboot, work on the second one. And yeah, it's cool that we're getting an alpha so soon. I know they did a closed, I guess it was a closed alpha, maybe ahead of the holidays. It's a really good time. I'm excited to play it on console. Yeah, if you're into Halo, definitely check it out.
Go check that out. Another one I know you were excited for, but I think, Janet, you're also on board with this game. Lies of P Overture launches summer 2025. What do you think about that, Janet?
The coldest summer that we'll ever have, because they showed off a lot of like winter stuff, which I think is cool. It definitely also is oh no, I still have not finished the main game. This is a DLC seemingly added to it, or an expansion. So yeah, I mean, it looks really cool. It looks really good. I think it's a fun, compelling world. I really like that they kind of, if people aren't familiar with Lies of P and the pitch there, but them kind of pulling from those classic stories and soulsifying it. When I first saw this pop up, which I knew this wouldn't be it because it's like a patch is not worth like a showcase thing. But when they first showed it, I'm like, oh my god, are they patching the game again to make it a little easier? Because like, almost every patch they've done, when they've done like tooling, they actually have made it a bit easier, which is not unique to like them. Like that's even happened from like FromSoft. They occasionally they have a patch that does make things a little easier. So yeah, I hopefully I can see more of this game. But every step, I'm like, will this be the step that breaks me? And it hasn't broken me yet, but that's because I haven't stepped that far. So it's like, I don't know what to do. But yeah, shout out to Lies of P. It's a really cool game, even as someone who is a self-proclaimed Souls hater, which is me, self-proclaimed.
Yeah. It does seem like you say that, and then you like these games. Like Another Crab's Treasure was another one where you're like, I don't think I'm going to be liking this game, and then you're pretty cool with
And
it.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't like
No,
Another Crab's Treasure.
okay. I thought I was the lowest on the game here. Mike loves it.
No, but
I
I just
adore it.
didn't play that much. It's why I didn't really
Obviously.
like come in with much to say. But yeah, Mike's a big the crab head. I don't know if y'all have a name
Big
for
crustacean
your
sicko.
community.
Yeah.
exactly.
Crustacean. sicko.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It's weird. It didn't necessarily. There's nothing specifically about it that I didn't like. I just wasn't really like taken by it. I was like, all right, I think I'm good here, kind of thing. Like it didn't make me want to reach into my soul's bag and try to conquer it. But
get
it's
your
something
little
the game
shell
did
back.
specifically. Yeah,
Do
and it has the modes and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know. In a non-mean
Just
way,
shoot
I just
everyone.
did not care. I just didn't care for it, you know. But yeah, I don't really have a big, interesting critical take on Another Crab's Treasure.
Do I recall Lies of P Overture like having an earlier release date? Is this kind of a push?
They originally said Q1.
Okay, because that's kind of what I remember.
Yeah, and
so
I remember hearing that, and like right around the holiday season, I was like, okay, let me re-download Lies of P. I'm gonna make sure my save is up to snuff. I'm gonna be ready day one. I'm ready to jump back in. But summer, I'll take summer. It's fine.
Yeah, that's great. We've got a narrower window. Do we see this again at Summer Game Fest?
This will be at Keely's thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keely loves that little boy. Loves that little Pinocchio.
Next up, Dreams of Another was announced, and it is the most bizarre thing, and I love it. It's like this weird kind of voxel pixel break everything guys for some reason in his pajamas with the AK-47 slung over his shoulder, just like wrecking stuff. It's got this kind of dreamy, ethereal quality to it. The PlayStation blog, which I'm going to post below, says that it's an ethereal, impressionistic dreamscape in which you shoot to create. Like, y'all can watch this trailer. Yeah. Y'all can watch this trailer, and I watched it. I had a great time. I know this is for me. I can't tell you what it's going to be about. You know, it just at one point you slit the throat of a clown, and I was like, I'm kind of in.
I didn't even notice that part. That's more sold. This was one where it's funny because especially if I'm not doing, I don't know how y'all are, but if I'm not doing like a live reacts, I'm much more chiller when I'm watching it. If I'm just get to watch like a person. So I'm like, I'll go on my phone a bit. I'll just like whatever. And it's like, I'll do that for like, if I kind of, I don't really care about this trailer or whatever. But I also sometimes do that when I'm really like locked in on something where it's like, boom, sold into it. You don't have to say anything. And this was one of those. Genuinely, I'd have to look back to double check, but I think including like even like the AAA scene, I think this is my most excited part of this showcase. It looks so cool. Art house meets shooter. It's like, that is such a cool pitch. I love just like funky artsy takes on things, but this also has a really striking visual style to it. Like the animation of there's like the one scene where the carousel, sort of the horses come to life and they're like moving off. It very much reminds me of other games that I have various levels of appreciation for. Like I never finished Unfinished Swan, but like I get that vibe from it. I get Joe, what's the one where you're painting in France? Not in France, you're in Canada or something, or you're somewhere in France. Ete, yeah,
Ete, because it's French.
Yeah, Ete. I get a bit of that, but like the sort of abstraction, and then the destruction as a means to creation is such like a fun pitch. I think it seems like the kind of game that's going to lend itself to thoroughly combing over areas and then getting like your treats a little story bit, and I'm like, that's great. That seems really, really cool. Also from a team that like I feel like we haven't really heard any projects from in a really long time. Pixel Junk, like the Pixel Junk adventure games. So yeah. And also I just realized that it's also coming out to PSVR 2, which always an interesting nod. When you see that, it's like, oh look,
wild experience.
PS2 PSVR 2 acknowledged. I have a PSVR 2. You never hear me talk about it, do you? No, not really. But you know what? Shout out. At least they are, still doing some support for that peripheral. But yeah, this thing looks so cool.
Yeah.
Also, ACAB, all clowns are bastards. I'm down with that.
Yeah. Do you remember that year? I feel like it was 2020, but I can't remember. Maybe I just think everything is bad. Where like clowns just kept appearing in
The
like
murder clowns.
the
Yeah, yeah,
murder
yeah.
clowns
I
just
think that
kept
was
happening.
I think that was pre-lockdown. That was like the first sign of like
Like
it's gonna be a
things
rough few years.
yeah, signs of the apocalypse were coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, murder clowns, man. It's nostalgic for
turning
murder
from
clowns
that,
now.
another thing I was super excited about. This is my highlight of the show. I don't know if it should be, but it is. Blueprints is coming day 1 to PlayStation Game Catalog. I love this. Blueprints is also coming day 1 to Game Pass, for anyone who has that as well. So this game is going to be so good, and I love that people are going to be able to experience this with less barriers. If you don't know what Blueprints is, and we by the way, we blew a lot of people's minds last episode when we said blueprints because of the connection.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I'm glad we could do that for everybody. But Blueprints is a game that plays a lot like if you have played the tabletop game Betrayal on House of the Hill. But essentially, Mike, don't laugh over there. We can hear every sound you
I
make.
was sniffing. My nose is runny. Jeez, I'll mute my
Okay, blueprints. Getting back on topic. You are a young adult whose great uncle that you've never really met before has passed away. You discover that he has left you in his will basically his entire estate, with the only caveat being you have to discover the 47th room in a 46-room mansion. So the gameplay, it's all about discovering secrets and you walk through doors, you put down a tile for the next room and you discover what's in that room and you go on to the next and you're like building up and building up your mansion day by day. Trying to discover the secrets behind what's going on in this. And it's so fun and beautiful. It's like riddles on top of riddles. It's got intriguing narrative hooks going on to it. So I was excited the first time I played this, and I'm excited to see it come to so many people. So
So
day
is this
one.
for quick clarification? So yeah, is this not already out like on PC? It's like
No.
still
not
just a
yet.
demo. Okay. So then my other question for you, Jill, because I know you had played the demo, correct?
Yes.
Is this year's Lorelei and the Laser Eyes?
Like, I don't think so. I think it is maybe Lorelei light. It is not the sort of game that's going to be so dependent on your own knowledge and working through things. I think a lot of it is very given to you, but in a way that makes you feel very smart. So
There's hope for us yet, Janet.
Yeah, do
I
you think
think
this
this
is
is going to
gonna?
be a good
Well,
one.
I really can't
We'll
ask you because you're not a fellow dumb. So I guess hopefully dumber people start playing this game and they can
Yeah,
report
Jill's
back to
too
me and
smart for
Mike.
us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll try to dumb it down as possible as I can. Okay, last thing, big highlight for the PlayStation State of Play. The Midnight Walk gets a release date,
Hell
May
yeah.
8th. This is from the creators of Lost in Random, which was
Oh, okay.
then EA, but now
Yes.
its own thing. It's creepy. It's a creepy little guy doing creepy little things in creepy little darkness.
Another PSVR 2 shout out.
Yeah, there is also a PSVR 2 element to this.
This game looks incredible.
Yeah.
It's like
It
it's one of those games of like, how did you make this look
yeah.
like this?
It's
There's something about the
stop motion
claymation thing.
claymation
Yeah,
kind of
there's something about
feel
that
to it.
in first person that is just so additionally impressive. And I can't
Right.
imagine how this looks in VR as well.
And having played the previous game, I'm on board with this. Like
Yeah,
whatever they're gonna do, I'm here
it's a
for it.
talented team.
Yeah, very much so. Also, every time I hear another game get a release date, I'm like, oh no, and insert month is gonna be like such a killer month. And
May is
May is
a
starting
lot
to
now.
look because I'm looking, I'm like, February still got a lot to go. We've got March games are going to absolutely kill it. Now it looks like we're getting into May with a lot of good games.
There's hope for April, I think.
Maybe we'll sleep at some point. Who knows?
At least
But yeah,
April so far is like, oh yeah, you got Summer Game Fest in a month. Rest easy.
yeah.
Take a chill pill.
Don't even worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Plus, later on in just still sticking to February to March, we've got Steam Next Fest coming down the line. It is looking like people are excited for that. I already put up a thing that's like, here are the demos to check out even before the demos. Be prepared. Get yourself ready for demos because it's going to be a big one.
I'm gonna make a promise to everyone now that
Okay.
I'm not gonna do the thing where I download 57 demos onto my Steam Deck and not play a single one. So I'm just gonna wait until like maybe something catches my eye, and maybe I'll play one or two. I'll download one or two, I'll play one or two, just so I'm not sitting at my Steam Deck for 3 hours deleting everything that I didn't play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna promise to do the opposite. I'm definitely gonna download like 60 games. Like I'm definitely gonna get through these, and I'm just not. But I'm gonna try my best, and that's all you can do. That's what indies are about. Trying your best.
Trying your best, trying your damnedest.
But you know what? Indies are also about love, and that's the
I love
topic
love.
of our show today. We're going to talk about the great love-centric indie games celebrating Valentine's Day, which is coming right up, and the release of Afterlove EP, which we will talk about a little bit later. Unless you want to throw it in here at some point, go right on ahead. But I just wanted to talk about various indie games that might be interesting to play for people out there for Valentine's Day, to think about, love and romance, or if you're in a long distance situation, if you want to bring yourself closer together with your partner with co-op, if you're going through a breakup and you need to get that settled, if you're looking for just fun little datey sims, or if you want to be a little love sicko, we have various indie games.
With consent, be a love sicko,
Yeah,
right?
be loves with consent, all things. So let's just jump into some of our favorite love-themed indie games. Uh, it looks like we've got a couple of dating sims. Dating sims are like a really like fruitful genre in the indie scene. I'm not sure why. Maybe it lends itself very easily to that. But Mike, I'm afraid of what you just typed in. So why don't you explain what that game was?
Oh, Wrestling with Emotions?
Oh yeah.
Wrestling with Emotions from Team Laserbeam, one of their early short bangers. Of course, a team I adore greatly from Teenage Blob. Of course, coming up, they have Wrestling with Emotions 2. Wrestling with Emotions it's a dating sim, but in the framework of a wrestling uh, lens, if you want to call it that. So the goal here, again, it's a very short banger. You could play through all the scenarios in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But the goal of Wrestling with Emotions is you make your wrestler and you are essentially building a match card for like the fights that night. And it's literally about finding the perfect match, and you're just going on dates, interacting with these characters to find your perfect match, your main event to wrestle. Whether it's actual wrestling or a metaphor for wrestling, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just a weird, goofy, again, short banger that I think is worth everybody's time. If you go over to, if you just Google Team Laserbeam itch.io, all their games, like I think you can buy their entire library for like $10 and you get like 15 games or something like that. I think Wrestling with Emotions is probably like $1 or so. The sequel coming soon. I know it's like I was talking to Ben, who's the lead at the studio. Wrestling with Emotions 1, 20, 30 minutes. Wrestling with Emotions 2 he told me it's about like 30-ish hours worth of content.
Oh dang.
Which is
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah, like the biggest, like their first like proper full scale game. So I'm really excited to see what they do with a little bit of budget and that a lot of room to breathe to really push more content in there. Yeah, weird little sicko game, weird art, very 90s like Nickelodeon. Highly recommend it. Check it out.
It makes me wish I was way more into wrestling than I am, but
You can. Oh my
I
God,
can do it.
Jill, let's do it. Monday Night Raw. It's your first time. Come on.
It's literally like everyone in my circle, we've got all the like video game circle, and then social media Monday nights is just taken over by wrestling. I'm like, I have no context for what y'all are freaking out about right now, but I love it. I love the energy. I love the enthusiasm. Keep it going. Speaking of love, energy, and enthusiasm, Janet, you've got a little dating sim recommendation for us.
Yeah, I pulled two. It's been a million years, it feels like, since I played either of these. The first one I'll shout out is Arcade Spirits, which funnily enough, I don't know if I actually finished Arcade Spirits. Arcade Spirits is one of those ones where I got off of, I used to be like hooked on doing the humble bundles. I was like, we can just bundle everything all the time. And that's kind of was, I feel like early into really getting deep into indies. Like I was just buying a million of those and then playing like one or two games from them. But
Dangerous.
in this, I think this is how I stumbled across Arcade Spirits. It's a romantic visual novel that's sort of set in an alternate future where like the sort of pitch they have on Steam is that the A3 video game crash never occurred. But it's cool in that it has a fun setting. Like it's cool to be in the arcade and hang out and have like the different people who have like their different jobs. Like I remember there's like the repair girl and there's like just other sort of archetypes in the setting of working at this arcade and kind of like the people that come by, and it does kind of have a little bit of that, not game within a game, but it's like, you know, game stuff within a video game that I think is kind of fun. I feel like when it comes to dating sims, a good hook goes a long way. And that's, you know, also brings me to my other one, which is Monster Prom. Everyone knows about Monster Prom already. It's like it's one of, I think, the biggest dating sims that it feels like it hit the scene, where it kind of broke into like, I think, a more mainstream angle, but you're a bunch of monsters, you're trying to find a date for prom, you have your selection of classmates that you can interact with, you can like virtually go and sit at different tables and talk to people and do different things. And I think what's really cool about this one, because I'm not really like a big dating sim person, to be honest, it's just not really what I like. I don't have a lot of like romantic history in video games. Like I didn't grow up playing the core RPGs where people were like, I was romancing this character. I also never really like pined after my characters. I think part of that's because I grew up playing a lot of platformers, and like that's a very unsexy genre. Like there aren't, you know,
You have the
the
hots for the small
yeah,
Italian man?
Yeah.
yeah, no, not really. He wasn't putting the asses in the seats.
It's a him.
I also think if we, you know, a lot of which I don't really almost want to bring this up because I know people are gonna like be unhinged about it. But like platformers, it's a lot of like things or animals, so it's not really like even a very human dominated field. Not that Monster Prom also has humans because they're monsters, right? But I think what's fun about Monster Prom, even if you don't like dating sims, is it really leans heavier in the gamification. Like I think a lot of romance in video games tends to just like boil down to, you said nice thing to person, you gave gift, they love you, and that's like not necessarily inherently bad. I think there's been a lot of cool romance that has done that. But Monster Prom kind of adds like a layer of doofiness and random occurrences that I think helps it feel a little bit more like you're half solving a puzzle and half like getting the luck of the draw. It kind of, you know, it doesn't have like dice rolls in it, but it kind of brings that feeling of like rolling the dice on things and not knowing how things will shake out, and you having like this goal in this compressed time and trying to see what happens. And like when you fail, you like want to try again, but it's not necessarily, I feel like Monster Prom to me isn't about, oh my God, I love this character and their design. That might be part of it, but it's also the idea of leaning into the gamification of it, where it's like, I want to see if I can like get with this person based on these stats or, you know, what have you. So that one's a lot of fun to check out. And I think it's gotten like a bunch of support throughout the years. I think they have like a co-op integration as well, where you can like compete against someone else to like see who gets a date or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of dating things that may not be human, uh, Sucker for Love, Date to Die For is I've questioned whether or not it's a dating sim, because you're sort of not aware that you're involved in the dating sim
That's kind
situation.
All right, let's
Dating.
let's
It's just dating.
bring back context, you know.
You know, eldritch beings have their own understanding of things. So Sucker for Love, Date to Die For is such a fun, over the top, campy, weird game where you are like On the surface level, you're going back to your hometown because you've received this mysterious note from your family, and people have been going missing. So your job is to go figure out what's happening, but everything is not as it seems. It's so hard because like it's going to ruin the narrative twists and turns if I say anything, but there are lots of it is a love story. Don't worry about it. And it's so silly on top of being kind of like mind fuckery, if I can, speak like Mike for a second. And it's silly. Yeah. I don't think I've ever come across a game that it is the combination of silliness and like existential dread that this game is. So, Sucker for Love, Date to Die For. And to top us all off with the dating of non-human things, Mike, it
Yeah.
looks like you got Boyfriend Dungeon there.
Yeah. It's been quite some time since I played Boyfriend Dungeon. I feel like this was a near lockdown game as far as I recall. So
That
memory's
sounds
a
right.
little foggy here. But yeah, Boyfriend Dungeon is a really fun little dungeon crawler with a dating sim twist that you date your weapons and you're building your relationship with your weapons in order to benefit combat as you're going around these dungeons. Um, I remember the writing being really charming. I remember the VO being really engaging. I remember the characters being hot as heck, and me very quickly picking favorites and favoring certain weapons. Um, what I really didn't expect out of Boyfriend Dungeon, 'cause I'm typically not a dating sim person. Outside of the couple other ones that I might have written here, I'm into the weird dating sims, not the traditional dating sims. Um, so I really appreciated that Boyfriend Dungeon kind of took a wider like action audience and not trick them, but like for a lack of a better term, trick them into really appreciating a dating sim and like the mechanics behind that. Because again, as somebody who doesn't traditionally play that genre, I was so engaged with the relationship building and making sure that I was paying attention to the weapons that I really want to pay attention to and forge those relationships with. Um, yeah, it's a really fun time. I feel like it was pretty overlooked when it first launched. I feel like it had like a quick little like bump, then just kind of faded out of nowhere. I haven't dug through I haven't dug into the DLC yet, or DLC free expansion, whatever it may be. I keep thinking about going back and messing around with it, but yeah, it's a great
There's
time. Highly recommend it.
just so many indies to
Too
play,
many, yeah, there's too much happening.
And games, as far as games with romance, like romanceable characters, but aren't necessarily a dating sim themselves, I wanted to touch on Fields of Mystria because we did have an entire episode based on Fields of Mystria. It's getting a big update March 10th, so everyone be excited for that. But Janet and I have already revealed the people who we are going after in that game, or who we are romanceable characters, and we all kind of guessed who Mike would go after. So we would like now, Mike, to see if we can confirm. Have you checked out the romanceable characters for Fields of Mystria?
I think I went to the Fields of Mystria Steam page once.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to do that. I'm gonna need you to go look up
Okay.
the romanceable characters because we need to know whether or not we were correct. And while we're doing that, I just want to reiterate that I chose Reese, if that's how you say his name. I think that's how you say his name. He's the lovely carpenter who's nice to everybody and wants to help. You know, I think Janet, you and Jenny blew my mind by both saying March was your top
Yeah.
romanceable
Though I
character.
do have a caveat on that. I'm interested in, at the time you couldn't, but it seems like the dragon statue is also
Dragon.
romanceable, which
Yeah.
I'm probably going to put that above the mean man, but mean man, close second. They're right there, neck and neck. Yeah.
How do I
Just
find
some
these?
good,
Are
like,
these them?
classic.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you got. So, yeah, just a fun time. I mean, I think even though they're not dating sims, but it feels like, I wouldn't say a lot, because I think there's plenty of farming sims that don't have dating in them, but like the existence of dating within the farm sim is, has a long storied history. So they're like I think genre-wise, they're friends. You know, you often see that being included. It's not exactly like a surprise when that comes across. And I think for a lot of people, that's something that they really look for in those games. I think for a lot of players, there is like sometimes an expectation of like having dating, and if you don't, it's like almost a con. So yeah, definitely Fields of Mystery is fun for if you're looking for that, that is there. But also, you know, I feel like it's also a part of the game that you don't have to
can
necessarily
totally
dig
skip
into.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but all the characters in Fields of Mystria, unlike say Stardew Valley, are really, really hot. They're overtly hot. So you are meant to kind of look at these attractive people and be attracted to them. So Mike is currently looking down the list of possible romanceable characters to see which one jumps out.
I mean, it's easy. It's
Oh, no.
Juniper. It's the goth girl, obviously.
We win.
Yeah.
It's the goth
See,
witch. Are you kidding me?
Mike, I was gonna try really hard to give you like more depth than that, but they're like, no, he's
I'm a very
100%
shallow
good.
man.
My second pick for Mike was that like the like buff dude that was there just for like the
Hayden?
vibes. Like he's like
Yeah, dude.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, that
Mhm,
was like
mhm.
I think that's what his name was. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, Janet. Like,
Okay.
I've been told I give off big bear vibes. I don't think you have two bears in the cave. You know, that's the problem.
Well, think again.
There you go.
If you think that, I mean, open your mind. Mike,
yeah,
you know,
listen,
for
Narrow field
once
of view.
in your
Well,
life, if you could approach things with an open
it's-
mind and open heart.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But like, I've heard from many folks that like I give off big bear energy, and like I just think like me and Hayden are just gonna clash. You know.
But you can be anyone in the game though. Is the thing, you know. So I don't
That's
know.
fair.
It's like depends on how you're
I'm
playing your
talking about
character.
reality.
In my mind, yeah.
That's fair.
You're like, oh, this is all real to me. It
Yeah.
happened to me.
Yeah,
It's very
I always take it real.
serious. Well, there you go.
Fun
We
times.
have the answer. A long time question. Juniper is, in fact, Mike's dateable character.
I also hate sod. So yeah, we're
Yeah,
meant to be.
it's not. It's not good.
Oh yeah, because that's her loves and hates. Sod. It's just silly hatred.
You don't know. Maybe she has a very dark story, past history with Sod. I'm gonna make that headcanon, so prepare yourselves. Janet, Lake.
Yeah,
I don't
I want
usually
to.
think of Lake as a romanceable game, but
Yeah.
yeah, you are correct. 100%. There is one answer. There is a
I
correct
won.
answer to this. There's a correct answer to who to romance in Lake. So, what is it?
The letter.
The Blockbuster girl.
Yes, 100% the Blockbuster
Okay,
girl.
yeah.
Thank
Legally
you.
distinct Blockbuster girl. Yeah. Which I feel like that's who I ended up with because I feel like that's who I pursued. But I gotta be honest, I don't fully remember. Lake came out back in 2021.
A while ago.
But yeah, this is kind of a
It did
it's
have
funny.
a really
It
recent
kind of feels
update,
like
though.
yes, they had the
Winter
season's
update.
greetings update. Yeah, that came out in 2023, which is still that's not 2 years ago. So
Dang.
time's slipping
A
quick.
long time ago.
But yeah, Lake is it's not a 1-to-1, but it kind of almost feels like in that romance vein of like the Life is Strange games where it's like you have like this adventure and then you're presented with like very clear like just these two people and it's like there's a guy and there's a girl. I forgot if there's like more than two people in Lake. I might be misremembering. Jill, feel free to chime in.
I
if you
kind of
can
only
either
remember
dig that up
two,
or remember.
yeah.
I think it's just the two. It's like a guy and then the Blockbuster girlfriend. But what's really cool about Lake is it's a mail delivery sim, which I feel like is so fun. You get the fun of driving. I love driving around in a game that is not explicitly a driving game. Like I've always been a big fan of doing the ambulance and taxi missions in like old GTA. So this kind of scratches that itch a little bit. It's less like chaotic than that because it's like small town, good vibes. Which I also think is sort of a staple of like that Life is Strange type kind of adventure where it's like, do you want to be cozy? It's like almost like the Hallmark angle of like the indie game romance kind of thing. But yeah, it's a fun time. You get to know a bunch of the characters in the town through like the deliveries. You know, you meet those two characters and you can like pick either of them to romance. It's just like a very chill, solidly constructed, to me, cozy game, even though I don't think we were using that term at the time. And yeah, it had that update that I have never gotten to. I'd love to do it one day I always dream about like hamming up the holidays a little bit more. So I feel like, oh, it'd be fun to play like wintry games for like, you know, the holiday time. and like scary games for Halloween and all that. But yeah, they had Season's Greetings, which is just like, I guess their sort of Christmas time at the town or whatever. But like just looking at the video, it's like everything's nice and wintry. Things are decorated. It's got a good energy to it. So yeah, I think that's kind of my preferred flavor as someone that's not a big romance in games person. It's like, oh, a little kind of like thing that sort of loops into the narrative. I also think it's a good fit for narrative games because it's like putting you in the shoes of that character and you getting to kind of almost narratively role play out things in the game is sort of like the approach that narrative really has. So yeah, Lake is definitely a low key favorite game of mine. I don't hold it like ridiculously high in like critical esteem, but it's like one of my favorites. Like whenever I have an excuse to talk about Lake, I saw my chance today and I took it. I took it. Go play Lake.
Absolutely. I think
Also, secretly like a really good like GTA like game.
yeah.
Yeah.
I played it a little bit more like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Thematically, just if you're looking for games involving love and romance and sort of anything in between, I was trying to think of things like Thirsty Suitors is not it is about the suitors, but also about like family dynamics. So you've got a little bit of different varieties of love going on there. Love Ghosty, uh, as opposed to say an After Love EP, we're talking about love after death, but it is just cozy and fun. And I think the one for me, which is thematically there, but not really, it has really no romanceable characters or direct love. Emily is Away, that whole series.
Love
It's
it.
so good and it's so nostalgic to a time when I like you were like I'm a kid and I'm like so interested in like finding my match. I gotta find the hot guy. Gotta be in a relationship, and like all those feelings of like, oh my gosh, they're typing something. What are they gonna say? What do I say back? Like hitting up all your friends, being like, oh my god, he said this. What does this mean? Oh my gosh, his status changed to this. What does this mean? Uh,
I'll never forget like the deep personal connection I had with those games. Like playing, I
mhm.
for whatever there was. Remind me, there's only two of them, right? Or was there a third?
No, there's a third one.
There's a third.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a weird tradition of playing all three of those games at like 2 in the morning for some reason, and they developer Kyle Seeley does such a fantastic job with the writing and the immersion where like you really get lost in it and you feel like deeply invested in these relationships with I think it was the first game, maybe the second game, because of course, as we put myself on blast over here, I'm a very shallow individual. I went with emo princess Evelyn
Mhm,
every single
mhm.
time. Evelyn, best girl. Emily's away. Emily, get the hell out of here. Um, Chatting with Evelyn, and like you're talking about music and stuff. She shares a link, and like the game does this really brilliant thing of like pulling off YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
Shared a link and like it just so happened, I swear to God, this is the God honest truth. It was a link to a Warp Tour that I was at. It was a Census Fail video playing. It was Census Fail playing at Warp Tour of whatever year it was, and I was at that fucking show.
So you opened the video and you were on the video.
It was just my face, yeah.
It's like
But
she
like,
knew.
it was just like it was that moment of like, is this a video game? Am I actually
Mhm.
talking to somebody? Yeah, just a really wild experience, and like I hope we get something like that again from Kyle. I think this trilogy is just so special. I feel like not enough people talk about it,
Played
or
it.
people
Yeah.
have forgotten about it. Highly recommend going back to it. It's such a wild ride, all three of them.
Yeah.
I wonder
You're
what it'd
not
be
gonna be
now
able
if it would just be like you're in the DMs of people on like regular social media because they're kind of emulating like the first one emulates AOL, the second one MySpace question mark, third one
I think
Facebook.
MySpace and Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
We
then
The
the natural
fourth one is
progression
the
is just like
crashing of Twitter.
yeah.
it's like pulling up. You know, you swipe up on someone's like Instagram stories or something. Like I'm not really sure what the you know what angle that would take, but it seems like it'd be fun. I
Yeah,
like those games quite a bit too. I didn't like 3 as much. I forget why. I just
that's
didn't
fair.
connect with me in the same way. But I remember really liking 1, and I assume I really liked 2 because 2 felt very similar to 1. So it's like I think
Yeah.
I had a good time with those.
When 3 launched, Kyle Stevenson from 6-1, we sat down with Kyle Seeley and we did ask the question of like, okay, you did AIM, MySpace, and Facebook. What's next? And at that time, he was like somewhat joking about Snapchat, like it would be probably something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very curious if he's been kind of quiet since the release of 3, so I'm curious like if he ever returns to the series.
Yeah, if you're watching this, let us know. Put in the comments.
Yeah, curious if it's just a Twitter or probably just a Twitter.
I'm terrified of what that would actually
a lot of crypto
be like.
A lot of strongly worded people from a certain part of America.
That's fun. Janet, you have some other games to throw around on these lovey themes. What do you got?
Yeah, I have the more obvious one, which is One Night Stand by the studio name is Kenmoku, but the developer, it's like I believe still just solo developer, Lucy Blundell, who recently made let me not blank Videoverse, which
Videoverse,
very embarrassingly I have not gotten to yet.
Oh, it's so good,
Lucy,
and it
I'm
actually is a
sorry.
really good game for this particular love.
Yes.
So
and I heard it was great,
there.
and I just kind of like dragged my feet on it. It came out in 2023, but the one I'm talking about, One Night Stand, came out in 2016, at least on Steam. And it's a I guess I would still call it like choose your adventure game in a way. There's like different endings. I forget offhand how many. Let's say there was like 6 or something, and you're trying to just get the different endings, but you wake up and you're like, oh my god, I hooked up with someone last night, but I was like really drunk. What happened? And you're trying to piece it together. I think one thing that, in case we were like, that sounds kind of weird, like you play as a dude, so it's like feels less like I don't know, it doesn't feel like toxic or anything necessarily, but you're like talking to this woman eventually and trying to see what happened. I think well, actually I don't want to give away too much of the narrative of you finding out like who you are as a character and like what brought you here, and but you're kind of dealing with you have like a set amount of time to gather information in the room before maybe she wakes up or asks you something, and you're kind of what I really like about it is that it really gives you the thoroughness that I think a lot of players wish they could do in choose your own adventure stuff, or like decision-based gaming, which is seeing all the permutations. But obviously if a game is like really big and really long, it's like can be really complicated to see, well, maybe they developed it where one choice stacks on another, and it's really hard to see like the permutations. But I think because it's such like a short, quick hit game, it's really easy to get to see so many different angles of it, where it's like, I think, one thing is like, oh, you pick up the wallet and then you see like maybe your IDs or her IDs there, and then, or you see, oh no, it's yours, but then it maybe has like a little lore information. I think it just makes really good use of environmental sort of cues, and like it's like a mini little exploration moment. And I think the endings are really nice and authentic. Again, I don't have them memorized, but it'll be something like, you part ways like amicably. You didn't see her again, but you feel like you had a good evening and it was both what you needed at the time, or something like that. And there's ones where it's like, you offended her, she slams the door in your face, you walk out and so it also has like this very nice visual novel sort of prose to, I think, the way they deliver the endings. But yeah, I feel like this was like, I mean, I'm not sure how it's so tough with indie to like in your mind conceptualize like, was this game very popular, or did I just know a lot of people who like loved it?
Yeah,
like in my mind, like everyone played this and talked about it and it was a big hit. But in reality, it probably wasn't massive in that way. Just going off like Steam reviews and guessing, it has like 600-ish like reviews. But yeah, it was like really cool. I think the art's also just like really simple but really nice. Like I love this game. It's $3. Buy it and don't play it.
Yeah. Same with Videoverse. It's got 90%
you don't have to finish
on Metacritic. Like it's highly rated. But I feel like we need to get more people to play it. So.
Oh yeah, and then I have my other one. I was like, the end. Well, One Night Stand for some reason 71. As a critic, I can say critics don't know what they're talking about with One Night Stand.
Yeah.
One Night Stand's awesome.
Videoverse, very good. So.
I know when my people don't know what they're talking about. No, but my other one, as a kind of a silly one, Good Pizza, Great Pizza. This is a game where it's like, this game had me in a chokehold for like couple months. I was in it to win it. I played this game on mobile and on Switch. I think it's I forget offhand. I don't want to misspeak. I feel like the constant updates are more so like hitting mobile than console. Question mark. I think that's accurate. Because I remember I think that's one reason I switched to like just my iPad or whatever. But if you're not familiar, Good Pizza, Great Pizza. I believe they just celebrated their 10-year anniversary. Oh my God, what is time?
Yeah.
This game's awesome. It is a pizza shop simulator essentially. Like it's first person perspective where it's not even first person perspective. It's just like you're behind the counter. It's static, and then you're making the pizzas. But what's really cool about the game is you sort of at different points, sometimes you know exactly what you're making, like someone orders something very direct, and sometimes people say like, I want everything and not extra, not onion or something. There's like little kind of word puzzles thrown into things where you need to like figure out how to do stuff, and then you buy like different upgrades to like make it more like mini sims to make it more efficient to then sell more pizzas. Why are you selling these pizzas? Because you want to buy crap for your store. Like you want to get like the cool, besides the upgrade stuff that you pay for as well, but like little decorations and things. And the reason I bring this up for sort of love games, the Valentine's Day vibes, is they always have like holiday events where you can get like special things related to the holiday, whether it's like decor or maybe there's like different storylines or ingredient types. And romance aside, like who doesn't like a nice like cute little pink hearts everywhere? Like it's just a good time. It's a good place to make your pizza.
I
It's
love
good
it.
pizza, great pizza. But yeah, it's genuinely like a wonderful simulator, really fun, really addictive. And yeah, they always got some holiday stuff. If you need a holiday game, that is an easy go-to. Hopefully forever. I don't know how long they're gonna we'll live in the good pizza, great pizza universe, but hopefully for a while.
Let's hope. Let's transition over from good vibes to like maybe you need help getting through some bad times.
Still good pizza, great pizza. I wasn't
So,
mentally well when I was playing that
you can do
game. Come
that.
on.
That can help. If you want to lean into the kind of sadder, more serious tones of things, I think probably one of my maybe number one love-centric indie game is Florence.
Florence is
Um,
unbelievable.
it's unbelievable, and I think Florence is the thing that is the biggest touchstone for me for Afterlove EP. It's got this absolutely beautiful, bold, simplistic style, sort of hand-drawn with heavy lineage. It is I think I played it on mobile because it's
Same.
excellent. It's an excellent mobile game. I think it's one of the very few games where I'm like, you should probably play it on mobile versus anything else, because it's just so brilliant in that format. But you can pick it up, I think, anywhere else.
I think so.
It is really fast. I want to say it's like 3 hours tops to beat, and it is the
I can
story
tell
of a
you it's shorter than that because I played through it on my commute to work whenever it
Yeah. No,
launched.
it's
And my
42
commute to
minutes.
work,
oh
yeah, my commute to
okay,
work
it's
is
under
like
an hour.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Maybe I just stared at the screen for so long. Um, it is a it's such a touching and poignant and like efficient storytelling mechanism about this woman named Florence, who you basically step into her shoes as she's struggling through, her later adulthood. Or like you're no longer like a spring chicken, you're out of college. Um Things are kind of hard, and then you stumble into love, then you start to see things play out in a way that's like, okay, this is maybe not great, maybe
Love's
this is not
hard.
great, and you continuously like things go downhill, and your relationship doesn't make it, but you continue on. That's not the end of the game. You still like pick yourself up off of that. So I feel like this is one of those games that if you're like really trying to get past something, uh, this is a great game for that. It looks like Mike also has something to help you out if you're going through hard relationship times.
Yeah, it's actually pretty similar themes to Afterlove EP, but it's more reliant. It's more based on like loss and grieving. When the past was around, from Mojikin and Toge Productions, apologies.
No, I think it's
Really,
Toge.
so I thought so also, and then we had that Indie Game Awards segment with Chris, and he says Toge
But
or
they
Toge. Toge.
from Toge, because they made
Yeah,
that joke that I'm always going to remember now, the pun that was like together. So I'm always
okay.
going to remember it's
That's
Toge.
Toge. Um, but yeah, I feel like a really like lovely overlooked game from Mojiken. Of course, Mojiken also put out, if actually a fact check myself real quick, yeah, uh recently put out a Space for the Unbound that was like
Very good.
beloved, and
So
like
good.
finally that studio got the recognition they really were working so hard on. But when the past was around is a silent adventure point and click adventure game about a young woman who lost the love of her life and just kind of like going through these little vignettes of digging into the past and like reliving the memories and just like holding on to the memory of somebody that they lost. It's really beautiful. It's really lovely. Again, like something I think is just heavily overlooked. This is something that I played um, sometime during lockdown, like around the holiday season, like where everybody was just so in a not great place. I remember just being alone in my apartment and just playing through it, and yeah, just totally fucking destroyed myself.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very, very, very good.
That's
And
also in
if
my
you're,
shame pile.
we believe in you. If you want to cry, Janet, that's where you're looking at.
Also, though, I would not play either of these games if I was going through a breakup. This is actually, I would never like. I think
You don't
these
want to
are
make yourself
good
feel
like
worse.
I make
games.
myself
Yeah,
feel
like what?
worse when I'm in a bad
And I get that.
situation.
And I get that Florence. Yeah, I guess that there is something to that where sometimes you like need something to cry over that isn't the thing, like a sort of a what's the word for that? Like a almost like an intermediator for your tears. I guess if you're looking for that, sure. But I feel like I would crash out really hard if I was if I was going through something and then played Florence or when the past was around. But they are great.
Oh,
Well, I would say I can speak
wait,
to the one that you brought up, Mike. But Florence is a
yeah.
fantastic game, of course.
Just you wait until our After Love EP conversation.
Yeah, wait for it. But before that, if you're ready to cry some more, Bury Me My Love is one of the like
Jeez.
it hit me so freaking hard, especially if you're in a long distance relationship. I think when I was playing this, my spouse frequently works out of the country, so was gone, and I was feeling a little bit of I was in my feels when I started playing this. Um Bury Me My Love sounds terrible. It sounds very sad, just the title, but it's actually very sweet. I think it's Syrian, and
It is.
fact check me. Thank
I
you.
got it pulled up. Yeah.
It is a saying that means I want you to go before me. I don't want to have to bear the sadness of you dying. So please bury me, my love. Like that is such a sweet like sentiment buried in like very, very sad thought, which encompasses the game. You are playing as a Syrian refugee who is attempting to um, immigrate in any possible way, trying to get out of a scary situation and find a new life to start. And you are choosing like there are no good choices. They're all scary, they're all risky, but you're just trying desperately to find a new way to live your life and to finally reconnect with your spouse who for various different reasons can't come with you, can't be with you on this very scary journey. Um, I think this is another game that's also extremely good for mobile because you have like little text messages that will pop up. And I was so like taken aback the first time one popped up because I was like, oh, someone's actually texting me. But no, it's part of the game. And you're just like making choices and reminiscing on your feelings about things. And it's so, so, so good. But it's also very, again, if you're looking to cry, this is one you want to check out. Bury Me My Love. Yeah, and then Just for the Love Sickos. There were a couple where I'm like, these are definitely like Valentine's Day worthy. If you're looking to play, but you're not really into the like lovey-dovey types, or you're not looking to cry necessarily. So I wanted to shout out Doki Doki Literature Club, which I think at this point there is no but like anyone who's heard of Doki Doki knows there's some sort of twist on it. I don't think that's a secret. Hopefully, however, you haven't spoiled yourself on what actually happens in Doki Doki. But go in there warned. Go in there very warned for content warnings, all of them. Mike, raise your hand.
I would say I know there's a twist. I don't know what it is. Never
Okay.
played it.
Mike, do this as a stream for Valentine's Day. Go play Doki
I'll
Doki
try.
Literature Club.
It's the type of game that like it's similar to what I was talking about with dating sims and stuff. It's just gameplay wise I struggle with.
Yeah. No,
Because I don't have that attention span.
You're gonna get just do whatever you have to do to get to the twist, and then you'll be hooked. I know you will. Similar vibes. Slay the Princess is very upfront about the fact that it is a love story. So go check that out. But Mike, I am very concerned about what you have put under Love Sickos category. So tell us, what should the Love Sickos be playing?
A good time to check out Sonic 06 ahead of the 10th anniversary, where Sonic, of course, kisses.
Oh, is this the one where she
child.
kisses a human? Yeah, where he kisses a
Yep.
woman.
Yep.
Good love sicko game. That's it.
And there we
Yeah,
go.
Not
folks.
indie though, so
It's not, but sometimes you
In
just
my
got to
heart
make
it
that
is.
love conquers all. So yeah,
are we
if
not shout out the co-op ones?
Oh, I was gonna say co-op ones. Okay. Yeah, if you want to share something together, we've got a really great. It Takes Two is a great co-op game to play. It involves a couple dealing with things. The story can be questionable, but it's fun. You can go make pancakes and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, play it on mute. No, I was kidding. That's really mean. I didn't like the story of It Takes Two, but it's a pretty good platformer. And I think what's nice about it for co-op is that you are able to, I believe for the most part, like always kind of be doing something. Like there isn't too much waiting. I know it's funny seeing couples play this across social media because it is definitely one of those games though where if there is a skill gap, you might just find yourself waiting a bit. Where I'll see like a pair of people and they're like, just hit A. You gotta jump over, and they're like, I can't.
Doing great.
So
You're doing great.
It has a little bit of that funness to it. And then the game that I constantly have to re-Google to be like, this is indie, right? Ghost Town Games, yeah, Ghost Town Games. Overcooked, and Overcooked 2 or Overcooked All You Can Eat. I think it's the ultimate, if you're able to do it, couple game. It's like it's all about communication. It's a communication game.
It is.
People always, will throw this into the pile of like the friendship killer game or whatever. It's like, yeah, maybe if your friend sucks and you suck a little bit too, then yeah, I guess it's the friendship killer game. I love playing this game with people. Like, again, if you can get that conversation down, it is so efficient. It is easy breezy time. And I think if you can't play this game with your partner, maybe time to start asking the tough questions. You might be playing Florence sooner than you think. I don't know. That's just me.
Great segue from one to the other. We could just do like a pipeline of what your life looks like game-wise. But yeah, that's all of the games thematically around Valentine's Day. We hope you're having a good one. And if you're not, we hope these make it better. But we've been mentioning, we've been dropping name drops all over the place about this game. So let's finally talk about it. Games we've been playing. After Love EP is I believe it is coming out on Valentine's Day. So it is Friday.
Yeah.
This game has a lot of sort of real life story to it that is sort of important for the context of the game. So Mike, do you want to bring that out a little bit?
Sure. So this is presumably the final game written and directed by Mohamed Fahmy, who back in April 2022 tragically passed away at the age of 32. Fahmy, if you're unfamiliar with his work, previously was the lead director and writer on Coffee Talk, and then When the Past Was Around. So very impactful, narrative-heavy games that I think all of us could agree are kind of groundbreaking narratives in the game's medium. Once I believe, and like apologies for timeline stuff, but I believe After Love EP was officially announced. Yeah, definitely, it was officially announced before Fahmy passed away. So it was like kind of cooking for a long time. Then of course that happened, and the I guess the fate of Afterlove was kind of like up in the air for a bit. Nobody knew really what was going on. Of course, like everybody from the team and his family just needed time to process, and like obviously finishing a video game is, in the grand scheme of things, not the most important thing to be thinking about. But eventually, the team at his team at Pixelnasia um, ended up picking up development, and the his narrative lead Sasha Ariana took the directing role. And speaking with some of the team at Summer Game Fest, Fami was like very extensive and thorough with his note taking. So he had a lot. He just had a blueprint of the entire narrative and all the characters and a lot of the dialogue, just like all there, ready for the team. It was like kind of like a weird. They kind of described it being like a weird sign that like, hey, like this is yours now. Like here's my vision for it. I trust you guys to kind of execute it. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where we left off. So for the past 2-ish years, I guess 2.5, yeah, 2-ish years, Sasha and the team were just kind of like picked up where Fami left off, and I'm so grateful that they were able to get this game out. Like in hindsight, again, like I said, the grand scheme of things, getting a video game out not the most important thing in the given situation, but um, after experiencing it, I'm so grateful that we have this out in the world.
It is so difficult to play this game and not think about how the creators were feeling as they were, like, constructing some of the things
Yeah,
that are going on, and how it is such an authentic, representation of their own situation, and so much of their own hearts are poured into this game. So with that said, After Love EP follows the story of Rama, who is a songwriter and the lead singer in his band called Sigmund Feud, which is a great band name.
it's a great band name.
And after an amazing show with the teammates, everybody goes out and celebrates. His very supportive girlfriend, who was there through the show, uh, coughs, seems to be a little sick, and she's like, I'm just gonna go back and you guys go ahead and celebrate. Um, the next day, we see it's such a cool narrative like thing where you a lot of this game is visual novel, dialogue heavy, but a lot of the game is also very kind of rhythm game based. So the next day, you're a songwriter, you get this kind of theme in your head, and
Inspiration.
you want to get this beat down. So you, the player, are going through a rhythm game, but as it's hard because you're focusing on the rhythm game, because that's kind of, a metaphor for the creativity of the person, the creative person, and their what they're focusing on. In the background, you can kind of see things are happening visually. Um, and I watched it more the second time around because I did play this opening at Summer Game Fest, and I wanted to be like, I was like, I don't really care if I fail the rhythm game. I want to see what's going on. So in the background, you are getting continuously missed calls from your girlfriend, um, who you just kind of don't see it because you're so focused on you, the player, are so focused on the rhythm game, but also Rama, you as the main character, is so focused on creativity that you completely miss this, and the calls get more and more frantic, and then leads to a very like up style intro. I don't know if I want to say much more. I want people to kind of experience this. um but yeah, the game really kicks off the gameplay of the game really kicks off about a year after um Rama's girlfriend has passed away, and he is trying to put the band back together and kind of get his life back together. Um, but there are still a lot of issues like that he hasn't been dealing with. Um, and a part of that comes along with literally hearing his passed away girlfriend's voice in his head. So she is a constant narrator in what is happening, and he literally talks back to her. So we know that he is literally hearing her and he is talking to her like she's there. And you can imagine that creates some difficulty throughout the game. Um, how how did you experience this, Mike? Send us on a journey.
Sure. I'm going to preface this with I'm going to try my best to keep it together.
Okay.
So, you want to go on a journey? We'll go on a fucking journey. Um, Fami's games and his library of work or his catalog of work have a weird place in my life. Coffee Talk I experienced where I was like totally alone in isolation, and I was real desperate for some sense of community and just social interaction. And Coffee Talk was able to give me that. Uh, when the past was around, I hard on the sleeve here. When the past was around, helped me understand some of the darker moments of my life where maybe I wasn't all too kind to myself physically. I'll just put it that way. And kind of just taught me like it really helped me reflect on like the preciousness of life and how my place in the world where alternate reality where I may not be here, how that affects others. Um, and now coincidentally, After Love EP launches 13 days before the 10th anniversary of my dad passing away from cancer. Very similar to the character Cinta in the story, where one day he went to work and things were chill. I was heading out to go see A Day to Remember in New Jersey, and I got a phone call from the EMT that he was on the way to the hospital. Very fucking weird. So the way I experienced this was quite personally. And I'm gonna do my best to not spoil anything because I think it is best left unspoiled. The everything that Jill described, it was the first
It's like the
5 minutes of
narrative
the game.
setup. Yeah.
That is the setup. Um, what I appreciate the most about this game is how much care it has for somebody who is going into mourning, somebody who is grieving, somebody who is having a really hard time processing something so traumatic as a loved one's death. I was like really tripping. How careful I'm trying to like frame this in a way where I don't want to spoil anything. I really appreciate how grounded it all was. Like everything felt like it had a purpose. Everything felt like it made sense in the relationship. Every conflict made sense. Everything Rama was feeling and how he reacted and how he was talking to Cinta made sense. There's just something, whether this was from clearly a lot of it was from Fami, but the way it was picked up by Sasha and the rest of the team, like it was clearly like Fami laid the groundwork, but it felt like the reactions and like the fine tuning was a direct reflection of how that team felt after Fami, where this game, you go through the ringer of just trying to step back into life. That's really what this is. Is just trying to pick life up back after such a traumatic event, and how the excuse my language here, how the fuck do you even do that? How is that even possible? How can you even comprehend picking up and acting like nothing is wrong and just like go about your day, go to the coffee shop, laugh with your friends, play music, try to even attempt, like in the frame of losing a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner, try to even comprehend like dating again and like trying to not compare a potential partner with presumably like the love of your life who was there for you no matter what. And yet it just, I think it just does such an eloquent job of like addressing all those concerns again in a way that's grounded. And the gamification of this game, where it is like somewhat like, which I didn't expect, I kind of appreciate. I was concerned at first, but again, the way they handled it with care, I appreciate it. It was, for all intents and purposes, a dating sim,
Hmm.
where you can like potentially pursue different relationships. You can choose to not pursue those relationships, which I also really appreciate. Um, and even though that was done with such care, where like everything just felt methodical and thoughtful, and despite doing the cliche like the cliche mechanic of adventure games, like you're you're all coloring the book differently, but you kind of go to the same ending sort of thing. I think I should have just trusted the team and like not really have I've put this in my mind. I was really expecting like the fairy tale ending of like, well, you found happiness. I could not be in your head anymore. Goodbye.
Mhm.
I'm so, again, I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm so beyond grateful this game ended the way it did, in a
Yeah.
sense that it helps you understand that it's okay to not be okay. You don't have to completely move on if you're not ready. Like that, even though a person is physically gone, they're still a part of you. Something whenever I bring up my dad, or like talk to other people who went through like loss in their life, there's that cliche response when you talk to people, or share something, that it's like, well, time heals all. And it's like, the reality is it doesn't. Time helps it make it feel a little tolerable. Maybe the wound closes a little bit, but the wound is still there. And Fami, Sasha, and the Pixelasia team really understand that. And yeah, this game, it did exactly what I described back in, like, years ago. At this point, I wrote about When the Past Was Around, and I referred to When the Past Was Around as a tool that could be used for mental health, and just like a coping mechanism to some extent. And I think Afterlove EP is in that same category of, like, sure, it is a wonderful narrative adventure with a beautifully realized Indonesia, wonderfully written characters, a really compelling structure in terms of like the mechanics, and like how the day night cycle goes, and be able to experience a full narrative without the stress of like locking yourself out of certain threads. But for folks who maybe like myself, a really just fucking phenomenal tool to help maybe ease your own mind and ease your own concerns, because again, you're never totally okay, and everybody goes through the ringer, and everybody has their bad days, their good days. And this is just kind of like a validation that you're not alone in this.
I think the game is also um rare in how nuanced it really gets into some of these issues, because it's not just about dealing with loss, but also one thing that really hit me very personally is my spouse and I have been together forever. Um, when we were quite young, he lost someone very close to him. Um, and the parts of this game that hit me the hardest were the parts where how do you support someone going through something like this? And what is the difference between supporting someone and enabling someone? And like they dig into that back and forth conversation so much in this game, which is something that you usually don't see at all. Like this is not a conversation that pops up a lot. Um, so yeah, I think it says something too that it hits on such a personal nerve for everyone that I've talked to who's played it. Um, I think for me, like it's hard to tell exactly for me. There are some instances where I'm angry at the way people are responding to things, and some of that is like people like these people need to mature, and that's part of the game is figuring things out. But also, um, I have such a like it's such a weird thing to kind of like sit back and be like, oh, that's a reaction. So like my thoughts were a little mixed on exactly how everything is executed, but I still this game is so rare a game, rare in the way that it goes about its themes. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at. I went on such a roller coaster with the romanceable characters because I had one character that I was like, okay, this is the character I love everything that's happening here. Then I ran into the other character. I'm like, okay, I think I'm this. And then something happened where I'm like, this person's not ready. This person is not ready to get themselves together. So I'm back to like I was just back and forth the whole time.
Yeah, if we want to touch on some like the more like the game side of this, so if you're familiar with, like, if you ever played a Persona game, it's very much structured like a
Yes.
Persona game, where
Mhm.
you are playing at 1 month. You're playing every day of 1 month, and each day is split up between daytime and nighttime. And once you're like, there's like some um
Special
like key
events and
points that you
stuff.
have to hit, special events that like you have to do. But once you're into like the rhythm of like the day to day, you have a choice to do one event during the day and one event during the night. And like those events could be like pursuing a relationship. And by relationship, I mean like friendship, developing whatever it may be, meeting a
Yeah.
person. You could spend by like, yeah, pursuing some sort of relationship with some of the new characters that are being introduced into Rama's life. You can try to find out like the collectible in this game. There are, how many, Jill? Like 12, I think,
Something.
memories,
I wanted to
something
say
like that.
9, but maybe I got 9.
I forgot. There's a bunch of memories that you could kind of seek out from Rama and Cinta's relationship. It's just kind of like there's a photo gallery in your phone, and you can see a photo, and it's like, okay, this is a photo of a cat at a bodega or something. So like you could try to find in the city that you're exploring.
Tofu.
Oh, tofu. You could try to find like that place in the city, and then like a little prompt pops up to pull up that memory. And it's like a really beautiful cutscene that happens to show kind of the relationship, and then you get like a little back and forth between Rama and Cinta about that moment. Um, and yeah, that's kind of like the main two. What I
Right.
really
You can
appreciate
choose to like
is
busk as well. You can decide
yeah, you
like,
choose to
hey,
busk,
I need to
just
get,
get some change
yeah,
for
make
lunch.
sure that I'm doing stuff.
What I really love about the structure, I feel like there's the expectation that like you have to settle on one route early, and that's like kind of how I played at first because I was just so nervous about like messing up a relationship for the person that I was pursuing. But the game really allows you to explore all possible options, and then there's a clear moment of like, hey, you have to have a serious or have an important conversation with
Yes.
person, and that's like where you lock in your, they call it routes, you lock in your route. um so like the way I was playing, I was avoiding one person like the plague, because I didn't want to, because it was a very, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but it was like a weird thing of like a friend wouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So like
Mike
I
and I
avoided
played
that
this
person.
exact same game, I
Yeah.
think.
So like I did the initial conversation to pop the achievement, and I was like, later.
Yep.
um but the way this game is structured, it really lets you, like, you could do it up to a certain point, and then you could back off and make your decision, and like you have enough time to do that for all the characters and get all the memories. So like at the end, where I was like clearly avoiding that one character, I had like probably like 5-ish days hungover, and I just kind of had to like, thankfully the game had a safeguard in place where you could just progress. But yeah, I just really appreciated that on a gameplay front. So like when you do boot into this game, don't feel pressure of like screwing over another character or like harming another relationship, or thinking you don't have enough time. Like you have the time to like do everything. It seems like, at the very least.
I think that there is also such a love for the place, the locations, because these are
100%.
real
Dude,
places.
and that's like classic Fami, classic like Mojikin, classic Toge. Like they love Indonesia, and I'm
Mhm.
so stoked that there's like so much authentic representation of that beautiful home. And it's portrayed like, it's portrayed anytime it's portrayed in one of these games, especially like Space for the Unbound, or When the Past Was Around. There's just something about this aesthetic and the art direction that really just makes it pop so hard on the screen.
Yeah. Well, that's After Love EP. I think both of us at this time will have reviews up.
Yes. Yeah, my
Okay.
review is up on the site.
The versus.
Big ol'
Who do you
big ol'
think has
tip.
the better review?
Well, my
I don't know,
reviews.
Jill,
I'm
you
just
do you
starting
wanna,
stuff. Relax. Don't worry about it. But
Jill,
wow,
unless
what a loud
Jill
silence.
unless Jill wants to fight me on my dad drama.
Let's
trauma.
go.
Big old tip for when you boot into this, because it doesn't tell you that you could do this. You can fast travel and you can run.
Yes. Yes. Those were some of the things that I was like, I cannot believe they didn't tell me this from the
Yeah,
get-go.
just accidentally, like I like so happened to hit the left bumper. I was like, Rama could
Oh,
sprint.
you can. It's a funny sprint too. It's the sprint
It's a
of
very
someone
funny
who's
sprint.
used to like being over like a guitar. It's so
And
funny.
like I was just like, what? Like I only really use them. Like the map is very good in terms of it tells you like the location of where characters are, or like the basic location where characters are. I
Mhm.
just so happened to like, I think I dropped my controller when I had the map open, and it hit A, and it fast traveled. I was like, are you
What?
fucking kidding me?
Also, I do want to point out this is one of the best representations of therapy that I've ever seen in a game
Oh
as
my
well.
god. Yes.
Because it's not
Yes, yes.
like, I think you should do this, or, or the therapy being in an antagonistic situation or something like
Yeah.
that. It is very much a like, and how would that make you feel? And let's re-summarize what you've just said. And what do you think about what you've just said? And like, very, very good.
Those classic mind games.
I was
Yeah,
always
that's what you really think therapist. All right.
like, because it's so like it's day to day, right? I had
Yeah.
my therapy day was Tuesday. And there was one day where something special happened on Tuesday and I had to miss my therapy day. And I was like, oh no,
Oh no,
I need
I
to
made
get
it like
I need to get to the
if
office.
if the doc wants to see me, I'm there. Like I had to prioritize the doc and
Yeah.
my girl.
Yep.
I also, of course, because it's a music based game, I do want to shout out the music. Like
Yeah. So good.
the music is a little strangely structured here, but in a way that makes sense. Where like a lot of the scoring and whatnot, and a lot of the rhythm games are it's Rama practicing and jamming, so it feels like incomplete in parts because it's Rama practicing and not really having a fully fleshed out game. But the band practices and the gigs, like the actual Sigmund
Feud.
songs they're bangers. They're
Fire.
so good. Yeah, I really hope they put out like that EP. Like I
Yeah.
hope they actually put out the EP on Bandcamp or something, because man, they are bangers.
I think that's our thoughts on Afterlife. Go check out our reviews.
Please play it.
Janet, would you like to talk about I don't know, Lonely Mountain Snow Riders?
Also
What do you
very
got
very
going on over
serious
It
games.
sounds on theme.
Yeah.
Jenny, would
No
you like to tell me the liminal
feelings?
spaces?
Yeah. No feelings, only action. No
Mhm.
thoughts, only environment. No words, only also words. Those are allusions to all of my games that I have. Yeah, Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. This is I guess you could say it's the follow-up. Yeah, the follow-up to Lonely Mountain, Downhill Lonely Mountain. One problem they have, not the
It's
best
a
name, I'm
nod-
not gonna lie.
yeah.
I do
The Lonely
I'm
Island,
falling
yeah.
over it. You kind of twist your ankle a bit trying to explain to people, but Lonely Mountain Snow Riders, it is a skiing game where it is very like mechanic centered. So there is no narrative. There's just the mountains. It's just you in the mountains. And I think this is a fantastic game. I loved the downhill game that they had came out before, which was a biking one. Yes, Jill.
Can you romance the mountains? Is that why they're lonely?
You can. No, though. Well, funnily enough, this has multiplayer in it, which is like, oh, it's not lonely
Ooh.
anymore. Oh, that's just an optional thing. Mike.
Are we sure the snowboarders don't have a dead girlfriend, or?
That not whatever headcanon you want to have for your character, you can. But no, it's just you're just someone with a hobby. You're gaining some points, you're unlocking more stuff. But yeah, this is very much a mechanics based game. I guess I'd in a way kind of call it a physics game because you are like interacting with timing your jumps and things like that. But it's not like wonky. It's very like it's like pretty tight and in control. You can crash pretty easily if you do like hit structures, but there's like that's kind of the whole premise of the game, right? You're like weaving between trees and rocks and things. The perspective is sort of you looking at the mountain. It's a bit zoomed out, and they kind of only give you what they think you'll need to see next. So you start at the top and you're just trying to get to the bottom. Another thing that's very unique to this game in terms of the sort of extreme sports racing genre is it doesn't have a track or a course. There's no like you're in the zone, you're not in the zone. The only thing they have checkpoints, and you do have to hit each one. You can't like skip a checkpoint to save time. But how you get there, it's up to you. And there are obviously like implied paths to a degree. Like you can kind of see, okay, well, there's this way, and then I see a ledge. But what makes this game so incredible and special and good to me is, besides the fact that it controls really well, it does that thing where I don't mind getting good at a game when it's like a short burst of time. It's like you only have to be a good gamer for like 90 seconds, and you get the checkpoints to kind of lean on to, so that helps a bit. But what's really thrilling about it is the fact that you can see ahead of you, but only like a little bit. So, and it's it's a racing game, so you're trying to go down the mountain quickly, but you're also these sort of conditions you can get. Basically, you can think of it as bronze, silver, gold kind of situation. Like the first one is, I think, based on this number or less crashes. The other one is based on time, and the highest achievement is based on both. Like I'll make it up. It's like you finish the mountain in under a minute 30 with less than 12 crashes or something like that. So you're sort of working your way towards those. I forget offhand exactly what the unlock conditions are for more tracks on the mountain and more mountains. You can also unlock the Black Diamond version of the mountain, which is like the harder course, like same deal, but different, a little bit more difficult. And that has its own conditions. So it's taken me a while to go through this completely. In my mind, it's done when you get all the mountains, but in my real mind, it's done when I 100% the thing in terms of the achievements. Yeah, what's up, Jill?
Can you propose to the lonely mountain with the black diamond?
No, but I like where your head is at. So
we could make that game.
Yeah, that's basically what the game is. Again, there is multiplayer. It's cool, but it's not like the main focus of the game. And I will say it was like a little lightly buggy, I feel like, at launch. I think they've maybe like smoothed some stuff out. But yeah, this is a game where I'll spend like literally, I'll put like a whole album on and I'll play it, and I'll only get through like 2 of the tracks at the quality that I want, and it's an incredible time. Very focused in. It looks beautiful too. The snow is incredible looking in this game, and the sound design is really nice too. There's no OST. It's just you and the road in Lonely Mountain Snow Riders.
Hell yeah.
But are you like looking at the game now, Mike, or what do you got there?
I'm bringing it up on cloud.
Yeah,
okay, hell yeah. It's really, really cool. I know you're into like the rally racing stuff. I'm not sure if this will scratch an itch for you, Mike.
I think I dabbled in the previous game. I'm not really I don't know how to ride a bike in real life, so I never connected with the downhill biking,
Me there, so like that, but I get you. I feel you.
The slopes. I'm all about the slopes. Yeah,
the slopes speak to you.
I'm a sicko for like old school snowboarding games and arcade games. This seems to be like a weird sleeper hit of the year so far. So yeah, I've been intrigued to check it out, and I was trying to play it a little bit, so I had some conversation to go with you there, but it takes quite a while to initialize.
Yeah, it does have
over here.
I will say the load time, because I've played on I'm playing on Xbox Series X, I believe, off of I think just a code I got directly. I also have it on Steam.
Sure.
I haven't tried it on Steam yet. But yeah, the loads are, I'd say, a bit long, and like no shade, but like it's just genuinely.
Yeah, I would say
a cloud thing.
It's just a cloud thing, but yeah, no, it's okay. Now it's starting to cook a little bit.
Yeah, like it takes. I feel like it takes a little while. It definitely feels like how this generation was all about like oh, no load times. They're like, yeah, we can't have like those older load time, even on I think stronger hardware. Oh, you can also unlock. I guess like the last thing that I mentioned, shout out about it is that you can unlock better skis to a degree. There's like the second skis you can unlock are like easier to they go a little faster. They're easier to control. There's a third kind that I think takes deep snow better, because there's also like exploration modes in this game too. So this is very much in the vein of Zen by way of hyper focus.
Okay,
like you'll be very locked in, and there's like stress in that, but like you're also sort of relaxed. I guess you could get unrelaxed if you have like a bad attitude, but I feel like that's sort of outside of the game, and maybe just that's user error.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I can definitely see people not liking it. Like my fiance didn't enjoy playing it because I felt like he couldn't latch on to the what I got out of it. Like he didn't get into the flow of it. He couldn't get in the auto zone. So I can definitely see a world where someone's like, I don't really care. Or I know I've talked to my colleague from Remap, Patrick, and he was like, I don't know, this seems kind of like almost like a high score game, and that's like not his bag as like a player. I would argue that the unlock aspect makes it more than just like, since to me there is like a progression to it. I think of it as more than just a high score game, even though it doesn't have like an authored campaign in the way I think I also crave that in a game. But I'm more than happy to make my own fun in Lonely Mountain Snow Riders by just getting those completions.
I'm not sure if you ever played this series, but it sounds very similar to and I'm not just saying this because it's also skiing or snowboarding. It sounds like those Alto's Adventures games, like those mobile games.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I think it's slightly different.
But like in terms of like just the structure of like it on the surface, it is just a high score game, but like you do get unlockables and like there are challenges to meet.
Oh yeah, I remember these a little bit. I feel like I get what you're getting at, because it's sort of that, you're looking at and navigating like an environmental space, just like that's 2D and this is 3D. I feel like there's definitely some connections there for sure.
Well, I'll
should I go
I
down
think in
either ones,
in
or
20
we
years when these
Yeah.
graphics initialize.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Janet, go ahead. Tell us about OMG words.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a Mike pick. So I was like, let's go. It's a
Oh,
word game.
no.
It is by Mike. Yeah, why do you already know? Okay, so here's the thing. So this
Yep.
is and I think Mike's words were also correct. This is like Balatro Scrabble. I wasn't that into it. And it's not
Ooh.
bad. It's not bad by any means. I think it's I don't know if I want to go as far as to say worth checking out. I mean, I obviously like Mike, it resonated with you, so it's not like it's and I got into it as I got further. Like I was able to win the first like tutorial run that they present you, which is more than I can say for Balatro because I like couldn't do it on the tutorial one. I had to get help later. So I will say like being at the end, I was like, okay, felt a little rush there. That was kind of exciting. I think the thing about OMG words that doesn't work for me. There's a couple of things. One, I think it is still at the heart of it. It is still kind of Scrabble. As a Scrabble hater, I did like it more than Scrabble.
Oh.
But it is ultimately still you're placing down your words, and where they're placed has an impact. Things that I thought were fun about it were like Mike, you mentioned when you had talked about the game on the show a few weeks ago. It has are they? Yeah, I think they're boons, right? Are like the kind of buffs you can give yourself, something like that. Yeah, it's tough. It's the same kind of parallels as a Balatro, but I also I don't want to fully lean on Balatro in case people aren't as familiar with Balatro. Basically, you have like buffs that you can like add, and then there's also ways that you can have different like tiles in your bag. You can choose to have like extra letters or things like that, or like more S's, stuff like that. One of the really cool like ability things I had was I got like extra points for each basically vertical line that I had filled to some degree. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's going to kind of change my approach to this next game where I'm going to be trying to build a lot of like vertical branches so that I can hit as many rows as possible because I get extra points for that. I think I didn't end up ever quite getting a buff that felt like juicy enough. Like I wanted bigger number go up, but that can also be, a player thing. So I want to acknowledge that. But I think for me, where this really falls short in the conversation of like the Balatro-like emerging genre, which is to say, a style of game that takes a familiar game and sort of adds this like deck building buff element, and then kind of bosses that have these different limitations. Like that's sort of what I think of as that Balatro-like structure. Is I feel like it misses some of the key excitements of Balatro, which is stuff like the way it counts the points. Like the sound design of Balatro is a really big part of, I think, having that thrilling user feedback. And for both better and for worse, again, this can be kind of a taste thing as well. OMG words, it's just like way more chill than Balatro. Like Balatro's like you're in it, you're excited, you're kind of wringing your little gremlin hands together and you're like, let's try to make some magic happen. And with OMG words, I'm more like, can spell salad. It's just like kind of like it's a little bit like it's not as thrilling. I think also it's not as I don't think you get enough opportunities to do bigger shakeups with like the tiles you have in front of you. And I'm trying to like remember this more clearly. There is a way to like swap out what you have, like you can kind of put back and take another, but there's not as many like big changes when you do like discards. So I felt kind of held back by that, where some of the some of the thrills that you get from Balatro, they're just not really present here in the same way. So so it didn't do for me what I was hoping it would, which was like, oh, this is gonna be a new like word game to obsess over. The reason I am on the fence on like do I recommend people check it out? On one hand, I kind of never want to discourage anyone from checking out like word games because there's so few of them that it's like I don't know, maybe just check it out. I think just taking what both me and Mike have said, we both played the game and kind of came out, I wouldn't say on opposite sides because it's not like I hated it, but like we had different feelings. Like you were more positive, I was more like I think take for that and make for, I can't speak anymore. Like figure it out. You're gonna have to see where you align. But for me, I'm like, this didn't really hit in the way that I want to. And again, full acknowledging that I am indeed a Scrabble hater. So if you're a Scrabble stan, this could be just like a new cool way to play Scrabble. But yeah, it wasn't non-Scrabble enough for me to get the juice out of it.
Jan, full disclosure, if I knew you were a Scrabble hater, I would not have recommended it.
No. I feel like to check the tape. I'm pretty sure we talked about
Check
that. You said,
the
"Oh
tape.
no," like because aren't you also kind of a Scrabble hater? Like you're not that into it, and you were like, "Oh, I'm not that into it, but I like this."
For somebody who writes words for a living, I'm done with words, and it just frustrates me.
You're
I
just,
feel like
yeah, I feel that.
yeah, 100% with you on that one. I
It's
want
fun
yeah.
anyway.
Okay. I was gonna say I know that you're playing Lonely Mountain Snow Riders, and I want your quick 5-minute review.
Yeah, what was it? I had missed what you said.
Lonely Mountain.
Okay.
It's
Give us
good.
the
It's
review.
fun.
How's it? Good. It's fine.
Okay, great, boom. And honestly,
no,
it
fun,
really
fun,
is.
not
It's fun. It's fun.
It's,
It's good. It's fun.
It's on. I forgot to shout this out. It is. I believe it is on Game Pass. I hope I'm not misspeaking on that. So I do think it's a
yes, 'cause
game
that's
that
how
you
I'm playing
can.
it.
Okay.
Right. You can tell very quickly whether or not you like it. So it is one that I do recommend everyone check out because you'll know within like 90 seconds if you like are interested in it. I feel like it's very clear what it is from the jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my last game is Dream Core.
This also
This is
seems like a
another-
Mike game.
I haven't played
Mike,
it yet, but yeah, it is.
sticky. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Mike game. Yeah, it's a liminal spaces game. I feel like that term has, obviously gained a lot of popularity on the internet, but in case people don't know what a liminal space is, it's a space that is a mundane kind of regular space that has a haunting aura about it. So like an example of a liminal space would be a Best Buy that's empty, but they haven't like fully shut down yet, so maybe like all of the lights are still on. Empty airports, the back rooms both as a game and as a concept, like a YouTube kind of thing. That's all liminal spaces, like an abandoned hotel, like those kinds of things quantify liminal spaces. So Dream Core is a liminal space game that has a body cam horror aesthetic. So you play from the perspective of, someone holding. You just like see through the camera lens essentially. It's almost like the scenes in Blair Witch, when they're like holding the camera. It's like what if that boom, that you. It's in at least the part I played is like in the not the daytime because you're inside, but like it looks like a regular feed, but it's sort of VHSified, has like the little lines. You can also zoom in and zoom out, which is cool and scary because it's like the whole point of liminal spaces and the idea of exploring them is that they're scary and you're just placing yourself in a scary space more so than like there is a monster. Now some liminal space games do have monsters, so it's like kind of a mixed bag here. There's different chapters or like kind of episodes in a way
Episodes.
that you can select, and I picked like just the first one in terms of read the screen left to right, and it's like a pool area, which funny enough, I had played the part of the other liminal space games last year, pools.
Yeah.
So I'm like, another pool, and I'm like, guys, I promise liminal spaces are not just pools. This just happens to be another pool place. I think design-wise, like the space is cool and interesting and eerie. My beef, if you want to call it that, and also kind of big asterisk on this, I'm not necessarily like a liminal spaces person, so there's also more of like a taste thing than a critique on the game, but just kind of speaking towards my experience trying it out. It does have like there are endpoints to these episodes, which I think is cool because it sort of gives a little bit more structure to the experience of walking around the areas. And there are like unsettling scenes to stumble upon. I didn't encounter any like monsters or anything, but there's like, oh my gosh, that it's kind of like that classic setup of what's that? It's actually just a chair, but it's like facing in an ominous way, and that's like kind of the vibe. But my beef with it, and this again could also be just user error. I couldn't figure out where to go. I think it's really easy to get lost in liminal space games because they're very repetitively designed.
Becca had the
And there
same
is an audio
complaint.
cue.
Yeah,
there is an audio cue that I'm not sure what triggers it, if it's where you are or the time you spend in the area. But there's an audio cue that helps you find what you're looking for. I think when you start, you're looking for kind of like a flashlight to get into like a dark tunnel area. And I was like, cool, I got the flashlight. And then when I went in the dark tunnel area, I never was able to like just kind of find the exit. Like that was the last thing I needed to do to finish. And interestingly enough, some behind the scenes, the code I got for this came with like a little kind of reviewer's guide thing. And not every reviewer's guide has this, but sometimes they provide like just straight up like a bit of like a literal guide. So this did have like walkthrough information, which as I was when I was like, guys, I'm not figuring it out, I did look at like what that information said, and it mentioned that I should hear like a train horn or something. Like some kind of audio cue was supposed to appear for me to find it. And I just like never encountered that cue. Not sure if I just didn't get to the right space or if I just didn't, I don't know, but I wasn't able to finish it, which was kind of a bummer. But yeah, again, I'm by no means an expert on like the liminal spaces thing. Mike, I don't know if you ended up spending any time with this one yet. I forget if you said if you've played it.
Not yet. It's something I've been really excited for. Becca played it. I was talking to her about it a little bit. I know she was a little bummed. She had the same complaint you have of she also missed the queue and she was just like wandering around that space for God knows how long until it seems like it kind of forces you to end in a way. She was also a little disappointed that it didn't really have any kind of like direct horror elements where like there wasn't something like I feel like there wasn't really like any weight to it if we want to put it that way. I'm still interested in checking it out. Very interesting release where like technically it's in 1.0, but not all the episodes are out yet. I think the first two are out. So like I'm curious like the strategic thought of why not release this in early access and then 1.0 when it's done. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, they're dropping some more in like the summer or something. So
yeah, I think one or two more episodes. Still curious about checking it out. I the liminal space thing is starting to get a little outdone a little bit already. So I was a little disappointed to hear that it didn't have like too much else going on there, but still intrigued. And now I know to play with audio.
Yeah, play with audio.
Oh yeah, you need the audio. And you might need more than the audio apparently. I don't know. Also could just be the episode. I don't know if the other one is like quote unquote easier. The other one's like Suburbia, which I kind of honestly wish I had done that one because I feel like that one feels a little bit more novel than
captured my
than the
attention.
Pools one.
Yeah.
It's just like you're in a weird suburb and it kind of looks like, I think what's cool about it is like to the name's point, it does feel like a messed up dream that you're in. Yeah, so that was that one. Kind of a quick bounce for me, but
hopefully we get more from it and it fixes some of that audio cue stuff. I think the last thing we're going to look at for games we've been playing, both Mike and I got to play a preview of Wanderstop. If you don't remember what this is Ivy Road Games. They are making it's sort of a shop sim, sort of kind of.
The way they describe it is a cozy narrative adventure.
Yeah.
If we want to just use the literal definition.
But it's a little less cozy and a little more calling us out personally is what I think this genre is. Especially any game writer, journalist that I've talked to feels a certain way about this game. So Mike, how did you enjoy Wanderstop, your time with it?
I mean, how do you want to approach this? Do you want to get into like the actual gameplay stuff, or you want to get more into the trauma, similar to Afterlove?
Let's do gameplay and then trauma, just to switch it up.
So yeah, Wanderstop by definition is a cozy narrative adventure. Ivy Road is kind of like a super group team consisting of hold on, let me grab the names. I'm gonna click the link of my preview, consisting of Davey Ryden, who's creator of Stanley Parable and The Beginner's Guide, which that should be a clear signal of where this game may be going. Carla Zamonja, who's co-creator of Gone Home and Tacoma, and then C418, who does the music for Minecraft. So kind of like a super group indie dev going to this debut project, of course, also published by Annapurna. Yeah, so on the surface, this game is, if I'm using other games to kind of compare it to, it's part Coffee Talk, part like Stardew Valley. So the Coffee Talk part of things, where is customers come into your tea shop, you kind of talk to them for a second, and you kind of hear a little bit of their backstory and what's going on, but then they give you hints as to like the kind of tea that they want. And then you take those hints, you refer to your field guide. I think the reference I used, or the example I used in my preview, was like, let's say the person wants a tea with like a minty flavor. So you could go into your field guide to see what fruit has like a minty taste to it and like how to produce that fruit to then put into the tea that you are creating. So yeah, there's a bit of farming elements where you are foraging for seeds and you're planting the seeds, watering them, doing the farming sim thing. Um, I'm typically not a farming sim kind of person, but there was something about this gameplay that felt simple and satisfying enough, and most importantly, didn't get in the way of the narrative that it didn't bother me. I was actually having a pretty fun time figuring out the quote unquote puzzle of trying to figure out the correct ingredients and planting things the right way. Um, but the real
Welcome
sauce
to
here
our
is
side.
Yeah.
the real sauce here is the narrative and the characters. We're not gonna dip into the trauma yet because I want to hear Jill's take on the gameplay. But in the preview, of course, you get to meet the protagonists, the two main protagonists of the game, which is oh, I'm blanking on her name.
Alta.
Alta, thank you, Alta and Boro. Boro, just imagine me with no beard. That's Boro.
Yeah. That's basically him.
Pretty much. And then in the preview period, we got to meet two customers: the Demon Hunter, which is a lot more intense than it sounds, and Gerald. The Demon Hunter was a real fun.
I love that.
Gerald.
It's great.
I love both of these characters.
Yeah, this is like really where the narrative like starts to shine, and where Davey and the crew were like really start to have fun with the dialogue. The Demon Hunter's whole deal is like he's kind of like a traveling vacuum salesman of he's just trying to like plant himself into a community and just like exist for the purposes of just like serving others. But like demons they recognize that demons aren't really a thing because they're quote so good at their job. So they just kind of like are there to vibe and hang out and help where they can.
It was very much the kid from Up coded.
Yeah, very
hello,
much so. Like,
sir or madam. I am here to help you.
Yeah, clearly a kid just following a script because like that's just what he's supposed to do, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And of course Gerald. We must protect Gerald at all costs. Gerald is this lovable, doofy, just goofball of a knight in shining armor whose like main objective is just like he wants his kid to think he's cool. And he's just going on these quests and like real like what he thinks are like these brave journeys of conquering like evils and whatnot just to get validation from his kid who clearly like a teenager who wants nothing to do with his dad at the moment. And like Gerald's just out here like suit and armor. There's a tie hanging out the suit and armor. He kind of like confuses, I don't want to spoil things, but he kind of confuses like thievery for finding treasure. One of his characteristics that's like kind of obvious at the moment is obvious right at the start is like his foot is
glowing and it's like smoking black
and it's like smoking and you recognize that like
there's a problem,
something is wrong, there's a problem there, and it turns out to be a curse, and like Gerald like sincerely thinks he's helping the curse by just doing a shit ton of sit-ups. He was like, yeah, that's how we lift curses. Man, it's just that there's just so endearing, and I'm just so excited to like play beyond the preview period and just like hopefully get even more invested in them, because like I really took the character, because the characters like kind of in my preview I gave a shout out to Viva Pinata. The characters very much feel like just like the pinatas and Viva Pinata just like kind of encroaching on your land a little bit, and you just have to like kind of like go interact just to like move the narrative and move the main objective forward. I thought it was gonna be as shallow as that, of just like, okay, you want your tea, there's your tea, see you later. But they turned out to be like really fleshed out characters that not only I, the player, really fell in love with, but Alta, who is very brash and like very set in her ways. She has one objective, and that objective is that we should probably go over the main characters also. I'll let you do that. One objective is to be like the greatest fighter in the world, and like that's like she's tunnel vision. But the interaction of those characters, like you even see her starting to open up and like let her guard down, which is like it's really damn written really damn well.
Really well, yeah. My touchstone.
So want to get into,
my touchstone for the dialogue is actually Daria, and I don't know why it's that's kind of humor. It's that sort of character who is seeing the world and being like, yeah, sure. So you can like really mess with the character who's trying to like sell you demon ceremonies or whatever. Um, so there's a lot of like heart, but like not in the and everything's perfect and sparkly kind of way. Like very much uh, a person who is wounded and dealing with life, sort of way. As far as the gameplay goes, it is not a shop sim, which is kind of what I was expecting. It is
And
very
I'm grateful
much
it's not.
yes, it is very much not a shop sim. It is a game that both like thematically and game design wise is about stopping to smell the roses, essentially. Like your job is the for the main part of the demo that we played, to help run this shop. And what that essentially means is just kind of waiting around, like enjoying the space that you're in. When customers stroll up to the grounds, they're not like, I'm here for tea. And in fact, you have that conversation very early on where you almost I like the direction I took the character, I almost like literally jammed tea down someone's throat because once I had accepted being running this show, I was going to do it 100% correctly. You're getting tea. That's what this is for. Um but the game stops you and sort of is like, no, this game is about connecting and like enjoying that the moment that you're in. So the characters would be customers kind of stroll up and you can go up and greet them and converse with them as needed, but they won't come up and bother you. You have to go and talk to them. Um, and they will, yeah, like Gerald will just tell you from the get go, like he's not, oh, I want tea. He will be like, hey, here's a picture of my son. Like, here's how my life is going. This is all the things that have been happening to me. And then you're sort of the one who's like, well, you're in a tea shop, so maybe order some tea. And yeah, I really love the field notes and the sort of idea of going out and like, okay, how do we solve for whatever this person wants? I really, really like the gardening as puzzle. It's not really
It's
a
really, yeah, it's cool,
yeah, it's a
unique.
very novel system. It's
Yeah,
not farming sim. You don't have to like get up in the morning and like make sure all your flowers are watered and make sure
yeah.
everything's
Things
growing
aren't gonna
correctly.
die, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a really cool system of like depending on what pattern you place things in, other things will grow around it. So you can just continuously like play around with things and see what happens, which is what I ended up doing. For a lot of the time, I was just kind of like throwing things in and seeing what would happen. And if you happen to come across something, it will pop up in your field notes and save that for later use. Um, and yeah, the whole making of the tea once you have your ingredients, this is a long step-by-step process. It is by design inefficient, but whimsical. Like the whimsy is kind of the point of the game that you're, oh, look, there's Mike. So you're making tea in this like huge apparatus in the center of the shop, which is like a 2-story, 3-story like beaker thing. Then you have to climb up using one of the like sliding ladders. You just slide around and go up and down the ladder and like play around with levers and bellows and throw in things. Like it's so completely unnecessary, but so much like it's so fanciful.
it's very Willy Wonka.
Yes, very Willy Wonka. Um, and
A
it's
funny little anecdote about this tea thing. So when I finally like got through the tutorial and had the first customer, I what I really appreciate, and I think I mentioned it in this video, what I really appreciate is like everything is in order. So like you're really working your way left to right, up and down, so you don't
yes.
really miss anything. Because at first when they were going through the system of explaining everything, I was like, man,
Oh
I'm gonna check
no.
this. I'm gonna check with this goddamn book every minute, every second. But I appreciate everything is in a set order that makes sense. That being said, when I dealt with the first customer, I forgot to heat the tea. I was like, oh, probably the most important part is making it
That's really
warm.
funny.
So
Um,
that added a lot of
yeah.
time.
So yeah, it's just a lot of fun to make the tea. Everything about the tea making is thought out as well. So like when you get to the bottom, it's such a silly, like, little swirl of tea that drops down into this impossibly small little yeah. I don't know if you did this or not, but I was having so much fun trying to make a perfect amount of tea without spilling over, which I managed to do, and I
Oh,
got
I
an
did not.
achievement for.
Oh, really?
I figured out the timing exactly.
What
Um,
is it?
you have to wait until it gets to the thing and then stop.
Okay, so like when
But
it gets to like the bottom,
yeah.
like when it's about to come out. Okay.
But if you do go over, like, you don't have to feel bad about it because the tea that splashes over, like, helps to hydrate the tree, which is the base of this apparatus. So you start planting flowers for how much tea you've made, so you don't have to feel bad about being wasteful or anything, which is, like it's such a detail that you didn't have to think about, but, like, what a perfect way to think about, uh, tea making as your thing. But, yeah, I also love that the game has specific reasons for everything that it does. It integrates a lot of systems. So not only are you making tea for people, but you are encouraged to drink a cup of tea of every brew that you make. So you would take a tea and go and sit down and you have to sit. So you have to find a place on the ground somewhere or somewhere in the shop. So you're going around and you're appreciating all of the space that is here. And then you sit down and you have like really intense and deep kind of therapy sessions with yourself about what's happened in your life to get you this far. And on top of that, if no one is around asking for any kind of request for tea, then you just go around kind of uh cleaning up the area. You know, you're
Yeah.
getting rid of weeds, you're sweeping leaves. I was like, there's a word for it, raking. Um,
Raking.
and you can like find little fun little things inside the leaves and stuff. So I
Yeah.
have my own teacup that's specifically for me now that I
Oh,
found
nice.
inside of a leaf pile. Uh,
I'll say I appreciate that the cleanup aspect is seemingly optional at the moment from what we
yeah.
played. Um, because I never got to a point where I had to kill time, and like going back to the Viva Pinata kind of comparison, where Viva Pinata, like there were times you had to kill time and wait for something to happen. Each character, each character usually when they're ready to give you an objective or help you push the narrative forward, there's a big old exclamation point above their head, and it seems like every time you complete a step, you're just naturally flowing into the right thing. And it's nice that like there's no time limits anywhere. So like if you really just want to play this as a traditional quote unquote farming sim, you can go out and cut all the weeds. You could pick up as many tea bushes as you want. You could
Mhm.
sweep to your heart's content, and like there's no penalty behind them, which is really nice.
Yeah. Do you want to get into the trauma, Mike?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other gameplay stuff that we may have missed, but no, let's
The
let's get into the
pluffins.
trauma.
Obviously, we got to
Oh my
talk
god,
about
the
the
pluffins.
pluffins. They're
Yeah,
so
they're great.
cute.
You can pet them.
You can pet them, you can
Um,
carry them around. If you carry them with you, every time you step, it squeaks. So it's like squeak, squeak, squeak,
they
squeak.
also they deliver packages or they find
They
lost
find
parcels at some point,
things.
so you have to pick them up and shake them in order to let the
Oh.
yeah, in order for the package to become loose.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
yeah,
with
the
that
trauma
note,
aside,
drama,
so
trauma.
trauma. Um, yeah, to backtrack a little bit about Alta and Boro in particular. So Alta, the game opens up with Alta's backstory, where she is this really celebrated warrior. She's an undefeated fighter. That's like all she ever wanted in her life, is just to be like the best fighter out there. She prides herself in being undefeated, and like any cliche story like that, guess what? One day her streak ended. But she gets back up on the horse and she's at it again. But hey, guess what? She lost again. So she decides that she wants to go off on this journey and find Master Winters, like the one person that could help her become stronger than ever. And that's where she runs off into this magical forest and off on this path, dead set on on meeting Master Winters. And you start to get the sense that um, she's not really able to do this. And the way I played this, and I guess this is a lens into my own
Mhm.
issues, despite how tired and exhausted Alta felt, I just kept gunning
Pushing
it.
her
Like,
forward.
no,
Yep.
I pushing forward. You got this. You're a fighter. This is a cakewalk. And you keep on doing that, keep on doing that, keep on doing that, and eventually, your sword, both figuratively and literally, is too much to bear. It's just weighing on you, and you can't take it anymore. And eventually, you black out, and that's where you meet Boro, this gentle, patient giant who, admittedly, I thought was a serial killer.
Yeah, the
When
reveal of Boro is one of the funniest, like, just visual gags. You're
yeah,
just on a bench next to this, like,
just
hulking
next to him,
figure,
and yeah,
and he's
it's
like,
like, why are you here, man? Like, what do you want with me? And at some point, like
uh-huh.
when he's showing you like the guarding tools, I was like, I don't trust you. You're gonna chop my head off.
Mhm.
um but yeah, Boro's the one that essentially like advises you to like take a breath, rest, like don't go out right away. But Alta is very stubborn, and she is setting her goal, setting her way, so she like runs off again eventually, and she passes out again, and we were just back to square one. And Baro is so patient with Alta, like just showing her the ways of the shop, just being calm, cool, and collective. And eventually, Baro, musters up the courage of, um, essentially just being brutally honest and be like, "Hey, for all intents and purposes, you are not okay. You need to take a break. You are a human being. You are going to severely harm yourself if you don't stop to smell the roses. So please rest." The scene you're watching on screen right now is like, he literally like, your sword will be here when you are ready to bear that sword again, but for the time being, you need to rest and relax and recoup yourself, because the way I kind of wrote it in my preview, like eventually you're gonna fall. Like, you could fall and fall and fall again, and I'll keep picking you back up, but eventually you're not gonna get back up. And that's where existential crisis comes in, because
Mhm.
hey, guess what? Doing this for a living. Put us on camera. Hold on, full camera here. Doing this for a living, it's a great gig. We love doing it. It's a dream job to be able to work into video games and stuff. And even like I could say for all of us, really, like building an outlet and building a brand and building like an identity for ourselves. Like, I'm so proud of what we did at 6-1. I'm so proud that something like we built from scratch. The not so glamorous side of it, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And again, if I may be very honest with everybody right now, um, once we officially went on holiday break, I was not okay. Like, I really wasn't okay. Like, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. Like, once I finally set my out of office email, and like it was a wrap for the year, and I shut the laptop, I had like a somewhat of a little meltdown where I think the weight of the entire year finally crashed onto me, because I never gave myself that chance to breathe. Um, and it really made me take like a hard look at to like how sustainable this all was for me personally, and it forced me to take I guess take a breath and really rethink how I'm going to approach this moving forward, because similar to Alta, I had I fell quite hard in 2023, but not as hard. 2024, it really goddamn hit me. I don't think I could do it again. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
gonna get back up the next time this happens. So yeah, it was a real
Personal
personally
affront.
personal front. So like personally, like a real wake up call, having that conversation like with Kelsey downstairs, and just like really trying to figure out what the moving forward was going to look like for me personally with 6-1, and just working in games in general. And I was not ready to see myself in Alta during those moments, and have an existential crisis of essentially, to be a little brash here, like, you're gonna kill yourself if you keep on going like this.
Yeah. You really need to see this game and see the opening of this game, because the way that they treat trauma and the pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, the kind of toxic push yourself until you make it sort of language that Alta uses, is so reflective of a lot of what you hear in this space. Um, Again, the first time I previewed this game, this is going to be my second preview, more based on gameplay. Um, I was literally on vacation when I played this game, and it was a personal call out to me being like, I've set aside this time because I knew I needed it. I needed to recharge. And here I am playing a game. Um, and that's a big part of why the game was created as well, because the game developers have been pretty clear about their inspirations of this game and how pushing yourself and trying to make things work happens a lot on their side of the fence as well. It's just funny how often I'm hearing like, this is a personal insult to me, that what this game is saying and how it's saying it, how deeply it's saying it. And I know that a lot of what we talked about was the kind of fun, light, cozy feeling of things.
And that's in there.
And that's in there. But this game in no way is trying to say a cup of tea is going to wash it all away. Like, it is talking about really deep and harmful and toxic issues that will not, by my guess, I've not played the full game. I don't know how the ending is. I assume that Alto will not be magically altered by the end of this game. She will continue to have some of the issues that she talks about in her like therapizing sequences. I'm just like, dang, there's no way to deal with that. There's no way to just like, ooh, I'm fixed. Which Alto desperately wants.
Maybe she hasn't tried hard enough. I don't know.
That's
Maybe
what
with
she
us it'll be
thinks.
different.
That's literally what she thinks. It's amazing to
Yeah.
see that character's thought process of like, if only I pushed harder, if I was less weak. Weakness is the thing that's gotten me here. Complacency. I need to push to make things happen.
And like, it maybe, you can make an argument that maybe it's a little too on the nose or whatever, but goddamn, I love the symbolism of like, she literally cannot pick up her sword, and she like thinks that there's something wrong, like
magically, like
there's
supernatural
with the sword, but like Boro just
just picks it up.
It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
And even like, nope, can't say anything. Sorry, that's beyond preview. Yeah, it's just even like, I think I'm a little I don't think you got to the point where like the preview ended.
Yeah.
But
I didn't want to worry about going past where I was supposed to go past. So. Also, by the way, we both talked about this beforehand.
Sure.
This game starts out
and put a bow on it for real quick though.
Okay, go ahead.
Even like, I'm very interested to see where, because like, this is from the creator of Stanley Parable, and that is very apparent where the preview period ends, because like we focused a lot about Alto and Boro here. Things even start to happen with like, again, those characters that I thought were going to be just like devices to drive the plot forward. There is like an impact that happens, and like, there's something strange going on, and I'm so intrigued of like what the overarching narrative is that ties into the themes of burnout and just not treating yourself all too well, and not giving yourself that time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
But please continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I think one of the funniest things that me and Mike, we compared notes about playing this game, and we were both given a sort of time frame
window
that we could expect, to take, and we both wildly exceeded that. So I really think this is going to be a special game, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see where this goes, and I'm also sort of afraid. Because I'm like, there's a lot of
horrified, dude.
There's a little too much truth to personally take from this game.
One of the last lines of my preview that by the time you're listening to this, it's up on the site, on sickosindie.com. One of my final lines is I get the sense that this game is going to severely mess me up.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a good way to end games we've been playing for this week. That's the end of this week's council. Thank you for everyone for joining us. I hope you all have a lovely, love-filled Valentine's Day.
Or we're on Happy Friday,
Yeah, whatever. Just feel the love from us right now. We're sending it to you.
Can you feel the love?
It's gonna be struck down.
Yeah, it's too accurate.
Too accurate. Y'all can check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Blue Sky at theindiecouncil.com. But this session is closed. Let's go play some indies.